Alright, here we go, episode 9 of our Middara series, and I want to apologize for getting this video out way late. My real-life job was really taking a toll on what I was doing in my fun part of my life, so yeah. But hey, thanks for coming back, thanks for watching this video, as we're going to be painting the Soul Butcher from Middara, who is a boss that I have not encountered yet in the real game. But hey, if this is your first time with the channel, or you are returning to watch another episode, but you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Come on, what do you got to lose? You know, you want to do it, or you don't. I don't know. Just hit that subscribe button. We're going to be coming out with a ton more videos. Anyways, let's go. I'm going to apologize now. I lost some video footage, and so we're going to take a screenshot of this while we're going to do it. So we're going to be doing some zenithal highlighting. We're going to be doing black undercoat, and we're going to be spray painting some white on some of these major areas that I'm circling and pointing arrows at. And you're going to see why we're going to do this by the end. It's going to poke out and really match that card art. And as we jump right into it after that nice little screenshot, we're going to be taking some Volupus Pink and hitting up a vast majority of this miniature, because this miniature is not that many different colors. It's just a little bit different subtle variances. After painting that nice big lung thing, that's what I'm assuming it is, it's a lung, I don't know yet. And I haven't even read the card, so don't yell at me in the comments below it, but if you want to, go ahead. Go ahead and start painting up that hand with the eyeballs on it. Again, I'm using a big, huge brush on this because you want to get this surface areas painted as quickly as possible. We're going to be painting that nice big tongue that is coming out from the mouth of our miniature. This isn't really a miniature, this is a bigature. But this reminds me of the old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think it was Crane that was living inside the robot's belly. This is what it really reminds me of. Don't forget to get some of it inside of that mouth. If you get some on that teeth, not a big deal. We're going to be going out with a different color here in a moment. For the base coat of our armor, we're going to be using some Shyish Purple. Now again, these are contrast paints. They're designed to be thin but thicker versions of our washes. They are creating a nice contrast look. Obviously that's why they're called contrast paints, and that's why we're doing that zenithal highlighting. So hit all those areas up as you're following along with this. And as you're putting this on, you're going to notice that this is going on very dark, and it's kind of hard to see the zenithal highlighting underneath, but trust me, it does help, it does work. You just got to kind of trust the process. And don't forget to get some of that little V shape that is inside of our face area of our miniature. Next, we're going to switch to some of our normal base paints, and we're going to take Pink Horror, which actually is a layer paint, but we're using this as a base paint on this. And we are thinning our paint, of course. I'm using a wet palette and getting a nice thin on it to get that white to stick through on it, on our brain stem thing, whatever it is. And then obviously we're going to be doing it onto our little claws that are sticking out from our hand. And the last portion of our base paints we're going to be using is a little bit of Morghast Bone on the teeth sticking out from the crane tongue is what I call it. Next, we're going to create our wash. We're going to take about 4 to 5 brushfuls of Lahmian Medium mixed with a 2 brushful portion of Carroburg Crimison. And And we're going to use this wash on our head and some on our claws that we already did. Now the other pink portions you might want to consider putting on, but I did not because that Volupus Pink, you could already see the white sticking through, and we want to keep it like that. You're going to see that with the next couple steps with the layering. The first highlight we're going to use is Pink Horror, and we're going to be using this a lot on areas that are raised in the wrinkles inside of our hand and on our miniature. Now we're just doing the raised portions, and we're picking out pieces that the light would catch. Obviously we do not want to do this on the bottom of the hand, but we want to do this on the top of the hand, and we're going to be building these highlights up. And basically we're going through and we're picking out little pieces. You can notice that the Volupus Pink sometimes is darker in certain areas, and that's exactly what we want, because we want to create that variation of tone, and we didn't do a whole hell of a lot of work for it, so it was actually fairly easy to do, and we're just picking out little raised areas here and there to make it a little bit more believable look, a little bit more nastier, I guess you could say. And as you're following along, I'm just picking out certain areas. I am doing some next to the eyes because the eyes are going to be kind of a focal point of the miniature towards the end of this tutorial, as you'll see. We're also picking out some of the shoulder muscles and muscles on the lung that our miniature is holding. While we're cruising around, I'm also picking out some of the crane's tongue that is sticking out. Again, just doing some of the raised areas, and if you're thinning this properly, you're going to see a little bit of a brightness at first, but as it dries, it really meshes in well with the other colors. And if we're following the card art, you notice that on the card art you can tell the portion that is closest to the hand of our miniature, it would be the right hand of the miniature. You can see that it is lighter compared to the outskirts of the lung, which are darker. We're going to follow that, so we're going to be focused mostly on that white portion that is sticking through closer to the hand, and we're going to brighten that up as much as possible. And just to be clear, there's no right or wrong way to do this. This is whatever your imagination wants to pull and do on this miniature. It's just what I'm doing because I like how the contrast of the colors look, and it's going to look pretty good towards the end, and you'll see. Now, as we're working on the claws, we're going to be doing this in a layered format. When you're doing it from the bottom to the top, each time you do a new layer of a new paint, you want to do it just a little bit further towards the top, creating a gradation or grade. I don't think gradation is actually a word, but grade from the bottom to the top. And of course, we're going to do some of this on the head of our miniature. The next color we're going to be using is some Emperor's Children, which is just a little bit lighter pink than Pink Horror. And we're going to be basically going over the same exact areas we just went over, creating some of that more layered brightness that we want to make our miniature kind of stand out just a little bit more. This portion can be a little bit tedious while doing, but trust me, it's all in the fun of the paint. When it's done, it's going to look fantastic, and when you put this miniature on the table, it's going to look great. So just follow along with what I'm doing, and we're going to be going over the same areas for the next couple minutes. To create a next variation of tone, we're going to mix in one brush full of Ushabti Bone to our Emperor's Children, and we're going to create that nice grade from bright pink or darker pink to a lighter pink towards the top of our claws, and picking out little extra pieces on our miniature throughout the long tongue and hand. You want to start doing this in less areas than you were before, but creating that nice grade of tone, making that light pink as we're building up highlights. Now add another brush full of Ushabti Bone to the mixture we just had. This is obviously going to start creating a much lighter pink, a bonish looking pink, and that's the color we're going for. And we're going over the same areas, but you want to do less at this point, creating just a nice grade variant of color as we're building up that brightness. You can already see how bright it's getting, and you can take this as bright as you want, almost to pure Ushabti Bone, and it'll probably look fantastic. And I'm adding one more brush full of that Ushabti Bone because I'm going hard in the paint, and I'm doing it again, working on those claws, a little bit onto the raised portions of the skin and that lung, and I'm going a little bit sparingly with this, but that's it. And to make our claws just that much more believable, a little bit of Ushabti Bone on the tips, and if you want to take it one step further, you can put some white on the tippy tips, the tip of the spear, but it's totally up to you. Now the biggest pain in the butt I feel like on this miniature is painting some Warpfiend Grey on all of our armor pieces. You can notice that the armor for this miniature is a nice bland purplish color, and that's exactly what we're going to follow. And we're going to put this on every quadrant of this armor. This is going to take 2 or 3 coats per quadrant. This is going to take a minute, but it's going to look good in the end. And once it's done, it should look like this. It took me about 45 minutes. It was terrible. Next, take some of that Naggaroth Night and put it onto our cloth pieces on the front and the back. Then take some Screamer Pink and put it on the bottom portion of our crane monster. Next, we're going to create our own wash for these certain colors, and you can see I have them posted on the screen right now, which is a 325 mixture, which is a weird number, I know, but this is what I decided to do. So do some type of variant to this, and we're going to put it all over that basically armor and blather it all up, and you're going to see that it's going to create that nice darker tone on our miniature. And then take some Nulin Oil and hit that purple up and some of that Screamer Pink that is on our crane bottom. After we're completely dry, take some Warpfiend Grey again, and we're just going to highlight some of those areas back up to create a nice little tone variant on our armor. You don't have to do every single quadrant. I'm basically sticking to the card art and going towards, if you're looking at it, that left side on the face, and just creating a nice tone variation, which is going to make it look real nice here in a minute. And with whatever quadrants you decided to paint with a little bit of highlight, take some Slaanesh Grey, and we're going to hit those same exact quadrants up, and we're going to be doing less on-side that little panel of armor. So just do a little portion of it, a quarter portion of it, half of it if you would like, but just building up some of those little highlights just to make it a little stand out just a little bit more. As we can see the finish line in our future, we're going to take some of that ivory and we're going to use this on a couple areas of the miniature. The first We're going to work on those teeth just a little bit in our crane area. And the crane area, we're just going to do about 50% of the miniature that we're going to paint with ivory. Next, we're going to put little daubs in the eye sockets that you can see in the card art, the glowing eyes that we're going to work on here in a second. And finally, we're going to put this same exact ivory in our eyeballs that are on our claw hand. Next, to brighten up those ivory places just a little bit more, take a dab of white, put it in the eye sockets and a little bit on the claw hands as well in the middle, which is going to create the tone variation that we're going to want to poke through for our glaze that we're about to put on. Next, take a nice dollop or brushful of Bloodletter and put it in those eye sockets of the hand and of our face, whatever kind of face that is. And what this is going to do is going to create a nice little glowing eye effect as it dries. That white will stick through, so just have a little bit of faith. And next we're going to take some Abaddon Black and just paint that base again, as that was our base color to begin with, just to finish her off. And that's it, you did it. It looks pretty freaking good, and I'm very proud of you. It wasn't a whole lot of work to do, just a couple little steps. Maybe took a little bit extra time doing that armor, but it looks pretty good, and it looks going to look fantastic on the table. Hey, thank you so much for watching this channel. If you are a subscriber and you continually watch these videos, I can't thank you enough. You guys are what I do this for. Thank you again. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. But without further ado, I'll see you on the next one, and of course, as always, paint on.